Hello, hello. Hopefully my mic is working. I think it is. More tutorial stuff to do today. So yeah, we're almost done with it. I think, let's see, I've got a couple of other things to do with it. But I guess we'll figure that all out. We gotta figure out what to do about backtracking. That's a big thing. And change some of the cards, prompt the player. So I think the big thing to do on this stream is to get the tutorial loop actually working so you can access the tutorial from the main menu. And then you can return to the main menu when the tutorial is finished. So maybe we'll focus on that. But before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. So definitely check that out if you're interested. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you use alchemy to create new card ability combinations. So if that sounds cool to you, check it out. You can also support me and the game on Patreon. Again, if you subscribe at this top tier for at least 1 month, I will send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches. And on top of that, your name will be included in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So if that sounds interesting, I would appreciate you taking a look at that. Also, you do need to be an active subscriber of either tier if you want to be an early access participant in the playtest that will be coming up near the end of the month here. And if you don't want to subscribe for whatever reason, that's fine. There will be a public playtest available as well, so anyone can play the public playtest. And then I also have my Udemy courses. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So if you've been interested in learning Godot, check those out. I'm sure they could help you out. And the Discord is also linked below. Check all that stuff out. Very much appreciate it. And thank you all for the support. 3 minutes late. Yeah, sorry about that. Welcome back, Jay Hart. Good to see you. Defected. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, Ninja Link. Clickertail. Welcome. Got to do what on Friday? I don't know. Maybe that's an old meme reference. Maybe it's too old. Do people know Friday anymore? Hello, Mabs Games. Hello, Chris. Welcome back. Good morning. Apparently it's time to get down, so let's do it. Happy Friday. Friday. Hello, Courier Games. 1 second. More Gunforge feedback. Really respect the polish. The gameplay is also very fun. In terms of gunforging, though, I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. Just add when number green. Yeah, Gunforge was very difficult to get all the UI working and to communicate to the player what the gun parts did. And I think if I were to redo Gunforge, I'd take a completely different approach to it. And now the cat is screaming. He's looking out the window at the birds and yelling. Azir, hey, can you not, bud? Can you not do that? Okay, come on. Are you trying to tank the quality of my streams? I'm trying to be professional. Trying to run a studio operation here. We can't have cats on set. Good morning, 1-star Yelp review. How are you doing? Hello, Willius. Friday. Kids these days, yeah. My hand is a dolphin? Okay, I don't know that reference. I know Friday, so maybe it's outdated. The UI is very good in Gunforge. I actually have a question about it. Yeah, sure. What's your question? You should watch Friar and it's a masterpiece. Is that an anime? Sounds like an anime. Okay, so as far as getting into the tutorial here, it's from Friday parody video. Okay, my hand is a dolphin. What? Did I miss that part of the video? Oh, or is it, wait a minute. Oh, there's a parody of Friday. Wait, so somebody's doing a parody of Friday? Friday is already like, okay, there's too many levels to this. When you get an upgrade, there's like a little banner at the top and it sort of has these weird lines that flow through as it bobs up and down. What is that? Yeah, so that's just all that is that's a UV shader. So what I do is I take a sine wave over time in the shader, and then I modify. So if you imagine plotting a sine wave over time and scrolling it along an x-axis, that is how the UV samples are modified, so that the pixels are actually shifted down inside of the shader, so it creates that wave effect. And then what you can do, what I did in Gunforged, is I actually dampened the wave closer to the root and made the wave have more amplitude farther out, so it looks more like a flag instead of so there's less motion at the place where it's anchored, and there's more motion at the place where it's not anchored. But that's all. It's all just a sine wave in a shader. Oh, but you can upgrade. There's a little banner at the top and has weird lines that flow through it as it bobs up and down. So maybe I don't know what you're talking about. Weird lines in it that flows through as it bobs up and down. You have a My Game too. Do you happen to have an NVIDIA card? And are you on an old driver? It is an anime. Oh, sorry, Emerson. I thought you were talking about the meme parody dub. No, I'm talking about the OG Friday video. Happy Friday, Necros. Hello, Asymmetrics. Welcome, welcome. Is it better to make my own physics engine for my Rain World kind of game, or should I just use Box 2D? I don't know. I'm not an expert on physics engines. I guess it depends on what you need. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know. First episode of the second season of Frieren. Post a screenshot on your Discord. Okay, yeah, do that. Is it a fire anime? Okay, whatever you say. Is it a resolution thing? Is it better to make my own X engine? Answer is no. Yeah. So yeah, I guess what I would say is don't make a physics engine if you can avoid it, which I'm sure you can. There are plenty of physics engines you can use. Actually, there was a period of time where there's a game that I made for a game jam with my friend called Grave Juice, and I wanted to explore making that into a full game. And so what I did is I actually switched out the physics engine from Godot's implementation, Godot physics, to Chipmunk 2D, and I basically did that by importing a port of Chipmunk 2D into C#, and then I was able to create my own replacement-like nodes for pin joints and character bodies and stuff like that. I can't remember why I did that. I did end up doing that for my game Swordslinger, though, the same strategy. The reason was because I needed deterministic physics. So yeah, you could swap in a new physics engine pretty easily. I would definitely recommend going that route before making your own physics engine, for sure. Unless you just love low-level coding and calculus, right? I'm pretty sure you can't implement a physics engine without having a good deal of understanding of calculus. Hello, Pascal. Welcome back. Good to see you. I'm going to out myself and say I'm waiting for dubs. Nice. Firebelly caught in the act of game development. Welcome, the Dollite. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Cyangineer. Have you tried Rive yet? It's shaping up to be a new generation of Flash. Rive? What is that? Build apps, games, websites. Interesting. I have not. I don't know what this is. Do you work for Rive? Fryer and Dub is actually pretty good. How do you handle UI to gameplay code communication in Godot? Is your gameplay aware of the UI code? No. The gameplay is not aware of UI. So the way that I think about it is that the UI is purely the visual representation of the game state. And what that means is that you shouldn't be storing any game state in the UI. And if you're not storing any game state in the UI, then your game has no reason to know about the UI, right? So what the UI is it's the visual presentation of any gameplay state that is relevant to the player. And the UI also presents options for the player to change the gameplay state by clicking buttons or dragging things around or whatever. But again, that should all just be a purely visual representation that then sends a request to the proper system to change whatever relevant state. So if I'm looking at Alka Mortis, for instance, when I see the cards, if it would load. So when I see the cards on the board here, right? This data about where the cards are on the board and the board itself, that data is not stored in the UI anywhere. The UI does not know where the cards are. The cards are having their positions changed when the underlying board state changes. And when I drag and drop a card, I create a visual representation of the card that follows the mouse. And then when I drop the card, I basically use the board to figure out, okay, what card was I dragging? What cell did I drag it to? Can I place the card at that cell? And if I can do all of those things, if I have all the information, then I change the inventory in a pure data sense. And then what I do is I emit a signal that says, this card has been moved from this spot to that spot. And then the card will then snap itself to the proper position. But the UI here, it doesn't know. It doesn't know what card is where. It doesn't know. All it does is it provides a container and a method for providing input to the cards, basically. So I think that's a good way of separating the concerns out, is that you basically should not be storing any state in your UI. Your state should just be your UI should be purely responding to changes in game state or sending requests to the proper systems to modify the game state in response to player input. You're using it yourself to make games to see what's possible and stuff. Very cool. Always like seeing new game development tools pop up. Vampire Survivors course goes through the stuff pretty well. Yeah, I like to think so. Hello, Stuff Bill, with the message yummers. Welcome back. Good to see you as always. Separating logical representation from visual representation makes so many problems so much easier to reason about. Yes, exactly. It's exactly right. Hello, Bubblegum Lord. Welcome back. Look at all these yummers. All right, so let's actually get into what we need to do. So I need to be able to enter the tutorial from the main menu. Let's see. So I'll probably make this relatively simple, but game debug. Let me actually clean this up a little bit. So I still have a tutorial. Where is that? Tutorial notice. Is this used anywhere? View owners. So we're going to get rid of this old tutorial. So tutorial notice. We're going to delete both of those. Remove. Okay. And tutorial notice. We'll get rid of that. Show tutorial. Get rid of this. On tutorial requested, pause menu. Oh, we got to remove that from the pause menu as well. Pause menu, tutorial button, get rid of this. Get rid of any references to tutorial. Okay. And then in here, create pause menu. I don't know why I'm doing this, but that's all right. Is tutorial shown? We're going to get rid of this. So all this code goes away, which is nice. I'm glad I was able to get rid of that. Okay, we have excised the nonsense tutorial from the game, and we can put the new tutorial in the game. All right, so I've been eating too many frogs again, jeepers. So we need a way. What is this here? Restart extensions. Okay. I don't like having little badges on the left-hand side. It kind of annoys me. So we need a way of going to the main menu. So let me start up the game and bring it to the main menu. Thank you for your interest, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we go to start. This start button should ask the player if they want to go through the tutorial. We might need to add a tutorial button to the main menu as well. So yeah, there's a couple of considerations to be made here, but I think the first thing that we want to do is just ask the player if they want to do a tutorial. How am I doing this? Screen rec. Does this? I'm just trying to decide how I want to do this. I guess I'll just copy this. I don't know. Let's do canvas layer. We'll just call this tutorial prompt. Okay, and then we'll grab all these guys here. Paste them there. We're going to save scenes, UI. Do I want to put it in tutorial or do I want to put it in notice? Maybe I should call this, yeah, whatever. Tutorial notice. Dimmer rect. Do I want the dimmer rect? I haven't made one of these UIs in a long time. Dimmer rect.material.dim in as screen dimmer material. I think you can try put disable and re-able tutorial stuff if you haven't already too, just a suggestion. Yeah, you mean persist the tutorial state so you don't have to keep asking? Oh my gosh. Oh man. In your opinion, what is the best way to improve at game dev? Learning new systems, methods, and syntax, etc.? All of the above. If you're looking for a general way to improve at game dev, I would highly recommend doing game jams. Because what game jams do is they cause you to focus on the things that are most important to making a game playable and enjoyable to a player. They teach you a lot about scope management. They also teach you a lot about what is important to spend your time on and what's not important to spend your time on. And as well as just giving you a lot of exposure to potentially different genres of games, because you're going to be wanting to, for the most part, make a different type of game for every game jam that you participate in. And so one game jam, you might do a platformer, and so you might have to figure out, platformer movement. And then another game, you might want to make like a grid-based, turn-based game. And then another game, you might want to make like a twin-stick shooter, right? So Yeah, participate in game jams, and that will kind of like force you to just learn all of these different skills every time you participate in one, up to and including the skills that are not directly related to actually making the game, like scope management, right, and time management and all that stuff. And then also with the game jam, you get the feeling of accomplishment when you actually finish and publish a game, and when people comment on your game and they play it and stuff. So that's a really good way to learn game dev, I think. And beyond that, if you don't want to do game jams, or you're just, you don't have time or whatever, just doing your own small projects is a great way to learn. I don't know if I would necessarily go out of the way to say you should learn this specific thing. I think what I would say is find a small game idea that you want to make, and then learn all of the things that you need to learn in order to make that game. My opinion is that you sort of learn best by doing. Tutorials are obviously great. Like I have Udemy courses. Obviously, I think tutorials are great, but the tutorials are more so to like get you into a state of familiarity with like how to use the engine and how to approach certain problems with code. But you're not really going to get to like expert level knowledge or mastery by simply following tutorials. You're going to have to go out and do your own stuff and sort of learn as you go. I don't know if that's helpful, but hopefully it is. And welcome to the stream, by the way, Riot We Trust. It's time for game dev once again. Yes, indeed. How does one build muscle? By working out. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I prefer game peanut butter. Oh, yeah, very nice. Very funny. See, what you got to do is start by making your own game engine for your dream game. Make sure the scope is absolutely nuts and write it all in C++ or assembly. Right, yeah. So what I recommend is start with an MMO that can support 5,000 concurrent players all in one zone. Make it open world with open-ended quests and a persistent world that changes based on player action. And yeah, write that all in C++. That's the way to start. If you don't have time or don't like game jams, I recommend 20 Games Challenge. I did that when I was starting and it helped me very much. Oh, whoops, it seems like my game has a subtle 250 megabits per second memory leak. Oops. Oops. The problem is that you can't just improve at game dev, because game dev isn't a single problem. It's a collection of skills that you must apply to a specific problem. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it kind of depends on what you mean by game dev. Like, is game dev just the technical aspect, or is it also the art? Is it also the design? Is it also the marketing? Azir, can you shut up? Can you shut up? Can you guys hear that? Can you hear him? What? 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 You got something to say to me? Do you have something to say to me? Definitely helpful. Appreciate the insight. Yeah, for sure. Science-based dragon MMO. You gotta force every game genre into one game. That's a perfect first game idea. Yeah. My friend and I we were playing Arc Raiders yesterday, and we were like just goofing off. We were coming up with like, meshes of game genres, and the one we came up with was a open world voxel based survival craft sandbox extraction shooter. It's like a Minecraft extraction shooter. I don't know. There's a free idea for anyone that wants to try that. How that would work, I have no idea. That would be kind of cool, though. Imagine the extraction shooter formula, but you're like mining in the ground and like extracting ores and stuff, and there's like underground strongholds and points of interest. Okay, enough of memeing around. Would you like to play the tutorial? I don't like these, I don't like this whole UI here, but we'll just stick with what I've got for now. I'm not going to change it before the playtest. Yes. No. Okay. All right. Yes button. No button. We don't need this screen rect, I don't think, so we'll get rid of that. Did I just edit my pause menu on accident? Son of a biscuit. All right, here's what we'll do. We'll save this. I accidentally changed my pause menu, but that's okay. We can do something clever here. So I go to notice, I saved this as tutorial notice here. Okay, and then I go to my code here and I just undo the pause menu. Or git rather. So now if I go back to my pause menu, we should be good. And then if I go to my tutorial notice, there we go. Okay, thank goodness for git. That's why you use git, everybody. Because when you are absent-mindedly overwriting a scene, you can easily recover from it. Okay, so there's my tutorial notice. We're gonna strip that script and then scripts UI notice, tutorial notice, game.ui.notice. Okay, we've got the tutorial notice here. So now, Azir, please. I'm trying to think. He just keeps coming in here and meowing. What do you want? Can you let me work? Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe he'll be comfortable now. Goodness gracious. It's like he's fine all morning, and then as soon as I sit down to stream, it's like time to distract and annoy. I can't do anything right now, buddy. Anyway. Dimmer rect. Do I want the dimmer rect? Probably. So let's get a reference to that dimmer rect. Node, private, dimmer rect. I guess I can't do that. Okay. Dimmer rect. All right, let's see. Public, override, void, ready. We will do dimmerrect.material as screen dimmer material. I should probably make this my own class so it's easier to work with, but we'll just do that. Okay, and then we need the yes button and the no button. Private button, yes button. Private button, no button. Okay. Yes button dot pressed plus equals on yes pressed, on no pressed, on yes pressed. Okay, so let me go to my main menu here. Let's take a look at when start is clicked, on start clicked. Await fade out. Maybe, I don't know how I want to do this. Main scene UID. Public const string main scene UID. We'll take this out of here. Get rid of this. If is skip menu enabled, game constants dot main menu or main scene UID. Await fade out. Okay. On start clicked. Get tree, change scene to file. So here I'm going to need to do the tutorial. Tutorial, notice UID. Let's grab this. Okay. Var tutorial notice. Tutorial notice is equal to scene. Let me do this. gd.load packed scene. Tutorial notice UID. Instantiate tutorial notice. Add child tutorial notice. We will just get rid of this for now. I probably don't want to do anything specifically in here on no pressed. So what I'll do is I'll just do, how am I actually playing this in? Pause menu, play in and dismiss. So let's grab these. Okay. Active tween, visual utilities. We got that. Disable buttons. I should probably standardize this to some extent, but that's all right. Private void, private tween, active tween. We need the panel container, which is already a unique name, so we can just grab that. Node private panel container. Panel container. Okay, tween position. Do I need this is playing out? What is this? I don't think so. I don't need to pause this. Okay. Play in. Okay, on yes pressed, we're going to do dismiss. On no pressed, dismiss. I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. Bool is yes pressed. So on yes pressed, we're going to do dismiss true, dismiss false. And then we're going to do two signals here. Signal, public, delegate, void. Tutorial accepted. Tutorial declined. That works. Okay. If is yes pressed, emit signal, tutorial accepted, emit signal, tutorial declined. Then we queue free that. Okay. All right. So we've got those. Let's go to the main menu now, and we'll do tutorial notice dot tutorial accepted plus equals on tutorial accepted. Tutorial notice that tutorial declined on tutorial declined. Okay. Private void on tutorial accepted. On tutorial declined. And then what we'll do is we will do private void wait fade out. is tutorial. Load main scene true. Load main scene false. Await fade out, and then we're going to do get tree dot change scene to file. Game constants dot main scene UID. Okay, so now I need to store that tutorial flag somehow. Unfortunately, that's probably going to have to be in an auto load, if I'm not mistaken. Wonder if I could do bar instantiate main. That's not right. Is that right? Main. It just has the run manager here. Interesting. Can I do like main scene dot set? I could use, this might be an application for meta, but I don't really like that. So we could do change scene to packed. Main scene. Oh, I don't want to instantiate it. I just want to do this. Oh, that doesn't help. Trying to figure out a clean way of getting that tutorial flag into there. Okay, I don't think there's going to be a good way to do this. So what I'll do instead is I will I'm gonna have to put something probably in a static here, or maybe options utils. I'm gonna do something a little bit weird here. Do I need to do something weird? Public static bool is tutorial enabled. Get set. I guess I could just do this. And then in my main menu here, we're going to do options utils dot is tutorial enabled is equal to is tutorial. Okay, await fade out, change scene to file. Okay, we're almost there. Game debug is tutorial enabled. Okay. Private bool is tutorial enabled. Return options utils dot. Why am I not getting IntelliSense? Okay, we'll figure that out. Anyway, let's catch up with the chat. Minecraft minigames with that concept, yeah. What if Minecraft but a 3D Metroidvania? It's a cool font. Is it free or something? I don't remember if it's free. It's called Soft Square by Chevy Ray. So you could look that up and see. I want Noita but 3D. That would be so cool, but technically very difficult to make, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it would be. How dare I schedule a meeting for myself right at 10? Oh, yeah. Git stash. I want to do game dev, but my computer's fan is broken and they don't sell replacements for my model. Oh, is a laptop fan or something? People who do game dev without Git are actually nuts. Yeah. Kitty is telling the solution. My cat was a goat of programming, Rubber Duck. Nice. Good morning, Pocket Pixie. Dogs rule, cats not so much. Unless they're big cats like panthers, then they rule as well, too. Well, that's just like your opinion, man. It depends on how big I feel a project is. Oh, whether you use Git or not. Yeah, I just use Git. Even if I'm just doing a little prototype, I'll just set up a Git repository for it. Because the thing is, like, I may do something interesting in that project, and then like 3 years later, I might want to like go back and see what I did. And there's a very high chance that if I just saved it locally or whatever, that I would lose it because I changed PCs or I cleaned up some files or whatever. So just having Git there is nice that, you know, it's like a persistent storage. We're all idiots, but it's good to be an idiot with version control. It's GitHub Desktop, which is really easy. Yeah, I mean, I personally think the VS Code Git integration is like the best one. It's the most intuitive one that I've ever used. Even the Git Desktop is like a little bit weird sometimes. We're just having a convo completely unrelated to Firebelly Stream. That's okay. I definitely encourage you guys to chat amongst yourselves. You can always just make a class called Tutorial Object Streaming Factory Manager Singleton for the game Alchemortis. That is an option. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that's gonna have to work, I guess. All right, let's see what happens. So if I say, no, I don't want to play the tutorial, it loads up the tutorial anyway. Oh, because I probably have this tutorial flag, enable tutorial here. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so we're back in the normal game here. I'm gonna go, why is that tutorial button still there? Oh, because I reverted. Right, let's get rid of the tutorial button. Okay, let's try it again. So I continue. If I do this and I hit, so this is supposed to be an escapable component. Do I need to actually handle that? Escapable component, escaped. Oh, add conditional is playing out. I see. So I'm going to want this, and I'm also going to want that. Okay. Actually, I'm going to want both of these. So I'll put this on the tutorial notice. Should definitely standardize these scenes because they operate very, very similarly. So instead of duplicating all this code, but that is not important right now. Escapable component on escaped. Dismiss is playing out equals true. Private void on escaped. Okay, on escaped, we're going to do dismiss, true, false, false, false. Okay. So we got dismiss here, on escaped. Okay. Let's see if that works. When I like to play the tutorial, I can hit escape, and that brings me back, so that just dismisses that, which is good. Would I like to play the tutorial? Yes. Cool. So I go to the tutorial here. So this is just in the tutorial flow, so that works just fine. There's one thing that I'm going to do here. State start. I'm awaiting here too long. I'm gonna move this. Oh, set initial state, state start. I'm just gonna do that here. Set initial state, state start, and then here I'm going to await toSignal get tree dot create timer 1.5f false. Scene tree timer signal name timeout. Oh. This keeps adding task for me. Don't do that. What in the heck? What? Okay. Anyway. Let's see if that works. A Rebecca Black reference. Oh my, yeah. Welcome, RN Genesis. Partying, yeah. Which seat can I take? Okay, so now we're in the tutorial. So I think that flow is pretty much set up. So now we have the player prompted to take the tutorial. And now that old tutorial is gone. You no longer need to read a wall of text to learn how to play the game, which is nice. So I think the next thing to do is we need to actually handle when the player ends the tutorial. We need to send them back to the main menu. So we'll do that. But let's see. I guess I'll just commit this first. Okay. Rebecca Black did not deserve the hate she got. Bad singer or not, people really screwed up her life for no good reason. Yeah, she was only like 13 years old. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That song is pretty impressive for a 13-year-old. She has a new hyper-pop album, which I did not expect from her. How long have you been doing Godot for, Firebelly? 8 or 9 years at this point? Something like that? Okay, so we got to figure out what the heck is going on here at the tutorial guide. So we're going to need to, when the tutorial is over, when the boss has been defeated, we need to yeah, I guess we're basically just I guess we'll just do this UI and send the player back to the menu. Was GDScript the first language you used, or do you learned, or do you have a programming background? No, I have a programming background. Even when I started 9 years ago, I was very proficient in programming. That would have been my senior year of college, and I had been programming for a long time before college as well. So I had a lot of experience with a lot of different languages, and so GDScript was easy to pick up, but at that time I was also trying to use C# because I picked up Godot like when it was 3.0 alpha, and that was the time where they introduced C# support, I believe. So I think I used GDScript for a bit, but I also used C# a lot. But I've basically been using C# mainly with Godot since I've been using Godot. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, we'll have to add a similar UI pop-up for the end of the tutorial, and then that should be it. We probably also want to store if the player has already played the tutorial, at least for that session, so that way I don't keep prompting them. So we'll do those things, and then we have some stuff to work on with respect to the actual tutorial experience itself. But we're very close to done here. We're very close to done. I think I did that one. Yeah, we just got a couple of issues left to fix here. I love the Godot C# version. It's the only version I use. Yeah, me too. You're welcome, and welcome to the stream, Joey. Good to see you. All right, give me 3 minutes. I'll be right back, and we will continue on. All right, I'm back. Every time I have to type public static blah blah blah, I die inside. Yeah, I think there's Azir. Oh my gosh, this cat will not shut up. It's like he's silent for 5 minutes and then he just starts meowing up a storm. And then he stops for 5 minutes and then he does it again. I can't pay attention to you, buddy. I can't. I'm working. Do you want me to pay the bill so you can eat or not? Somebody's got to pay for the heating. You don't have any fur. You don't have any fur. And guess who has to pay for the heating to keep you alive? Yeah, it's me. Yeah, so let me work. What? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think there are certainly a lot of opportunities for C# to become more streamlined. Like, I really like the direction they're going where they're simplifying a lot of the syntax. Like, and they seem to be borrowing somewhat from JavaScript with respect to like constructing new lists and stuff, where you can use like the spread operator. I think that's what it's called at least that's what it's called in JavaScript. And those kinds of things, like they just like the var keyword, the spread operator, like those kind of things just streamline the code. They make it a lot less verbose without sacrificing readability. And I wonder if they could do something similar for like the method accessibility, like public static. You know, I wonder if there's a way to streamline that, because that is a lot of boilerplate to have to type. So anyway, I think there's opportunities there for sure. I think you could set up like a macro or something too, like a code snippet in VS Code and probably other IDEs as well, where you could type like PS or something, and that would like PSV, and that would be public static void, you know. Anyway, so we got to handle the end of the tutorial here, and I've got my colleague here. Hi, you want to help me? So when we end the tutorial, we're going to need to spawn a tutorial end notice. So let's just duplicate this tutorial end notice, and we'll open that up. We'll get rid of this script. We'll add a new one here. Tutorial notice. I'm just going to copy all this and paste it here. Tutorial end notice. Okay, we'll edit all that in just a second. So let's handle the boss. The boss defeated. Is there a game events? Actually, I don't think I need to do that. I think what I can do is what? Actually, I wonder... Maybe I could just handle this naturally. Let's see. Was in boss fight and current notoriety region is equal to... Seeded run map notoriety regions. Yeah, so I could do this actually. Here is equal to seeded run map notoriety regions count. I wonder if I could just handle this victory automatically, so when the player leaves, or when a player beats the boss, they can just go... Would you like to play the tutorial? Yes. Let's see what happens. I may not even need a new scene for this. Hello, Neozoid. Welcome back. Kzori, hello. Welcome to the stream, everybody. I wonder, I'm actually going the reverse route. I have no technical background, but I started learning game development in there for GDScript. From that point on, I figured I'd look for a job in IT. Yeah, that's a totally, I mean, that's how I got into programming when I was a young teenager, is I started working with GameMaker, started doing GameMaker scripting, also made a few websites here and there because I was really interested. Actually, my dad was doing, he was doing an online college to get a degree, and in one of his classes he made a website and he showed it to me, and I was like, that's so cool, and so I wanted to make websites too. So anyway, I got my start in like the whole technology software world basically just because I wanted to make games and websites, and that's what led me into a more technical understanding. Now I think I'm the kind of person that's just more naturally suited toward the technical side of things. The art and the game design has always been hard for me, so I kind of just fell naturally into enjoying the technical side of things a lot more. But yeah, that's a totally valid way to get into programming. I mean, you got to be exposed to it somehow, right? I need to figure out how I want to make a battle combat log for my idle JRPG such that players can actually deep dive into it after the fact, like search filters, maybe export to clipboard using Godot. Yeah, that's going to be hard. I want to do the same thing or a similar thing, but I think the trick is just to, log as much data as you can into a sensible data structure, and then you can do whatever you need to do with it. My combat log implementation was relatively easy to implement because I'm already tracking all of the abilities that are executed and against what targets and stuff. And so I have all that data stored in a big history object. And that was originally built, that history object was originally built so I can support abilities that can look back in the history and say, deal X damage based on how many times poison was dealt or whatever, right? But in order to do an ability like that, I need to be able to go back in the history and read that. Well, it just turned out that adding a combat log was just as simple as listening for new history entries being added and then just formatting it as text. And so I think I could expand the combat log even further using that kind of approach, but we'll see. This tutorial is feeling pretty good, though. It's feeling pretty good. Thanks. That's good to know. Game dev and IT are somewhat linked to each other. Yeah, for sure. The art is hard for you. Your pixel art is amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I would say that it was hard. It still is hard in a lot of cases. I mean, you just have to look at my frog card that I tried to draw. So I still struggle in a lot of instances, but I'm definitely much better at art than I used to be, and I'm getting better constantly. So that's definitely true. But thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. I think the key to a good combat log is probably the data structure used to store it in. I'd consider a CSV for something that requires complicated filtering. JSON doesn't feel like the right solution, though. Well, if your log is going to stay entirely in game, you don't need to use either of those formats, right? You could just keep it in memory. But yeah, if you're trying to export it, yeah, it depends, because CSV is not really good for nested relationships, right? It's like, let's say that you have, I don't know, you have a damage type event, but then you want to break it down and you want to like have some sub data within that, like related to it. Basically what I'm trying to say is establishing relationships between multiple pieces of data that are different is hard in CSV, because CSV is kind of just like a uniform, here's all the headers, and then each row has to fit in those headers. It's like a database table, right? But let's say that you have like a one-to-many relationship. How are you going to express that in CSV? That's going to be difficult, right? Unless you want to like recreate a database structure, like a typical, SQL database structure by exporting multiple CSVs and having like IDs connecting to each other. In that case, if you've got like one-to-many relationships, or you've got sub data that needs to be associated with a record, then JSON would be the better approach, I think. But it entirely depends on your data structure, I think, and what your needs are. So how much game dev experience do you have, if I may ask? Your work looks so polished from the outside. I've been working on games since I was 14, and I'm 31 now. So however many years that is. 17 years, is that right? And it's not like, it's not like I've been doing game dev full time for 17 years, but I've always been dabbling in game dev since I was 14. So it's a lot. I always tell people that, you have to be, if you're going to do game dev, unless you're like just naturally inclined to making games, like there are some people that they pick up game dev a year ago and then they make a smash hit on Steam. Those people are few and far between, but there are definitely people like that. But I think for most people, to get good at game dev is going to be, you have to be thinking on the term of like many years, up to and including a decade of constant effort. It's a big commitment, and it takes a long time to get good at. And like I said, that depends on your own proficiencies. You may learn faster than other people. You may have a knack for game design that other people don't have. But it's a long process, very long process. Okay, let's see what happens if I beat this boss. Almost feels like you might want a database, but that feels like a lot of work. Any advice for turning 30? Yeah, my advice for turning 30 is just let it happen. And it's going to happen whether you like it or not. So, there's your advice. Anyway. I really don't. So a lot of people make a big deal about becoming 30, and I really don't. It didn't feel that impactful or different to me. I like being 30. I like being the age that I am. But I've always been that kind of person. I always liked the idea of being older. So your mileage may vary. So I don't want to do that victory screen like this. Also, this is off center. So I'm not going to use, I mean, this works because I can go back to the main menu, but I have to change the text there and all that stuff. So that is okay, but I am not going to do that here. You know what I could do is I could do else if, let's change this. If was in boss fight and current notoriety region is equal to this, we'll do this. If not is tutorial enabled, we'll do that. Else we'll emit a different signal here. Okay, and then what we'll do is I'll just do a signal. Public delegate void tutorial completed event handler. Emit signal tutorial completed. So we'll just do a totally different flow for this. So if I go to my tutorial guide here, what I will do is I will do run manager dot connect tutorial completed on tutorial completed. Scroll down here. Private void on tutorial completed. And then here we're going to, yeah, we'll add this new tutorial end notice here. So we'll just do completed. Bam. And then we'll get rid of this. We'll just do egads. Container sizing, shrink center, there we go. We'll just say to menu. Maybe back. Okay. We'll just do button here. Okay, tutorial notice. We have no yes button, no button. We'll just call this button. Escapable component is playing out. Button.pressed. On button pressed. Okay. dismiss. Can I do an async in here? Oh, I can. Probably do want a screen rect in here, so we'll do tutorial notice, this layer. Okay, so let's do a screen rect. Screen rect. Node private screen rect. Screen rect, main menu. Await fade out. Get tree.change scene to file. Game constants.main menu UID. Okay, that should work. And then we need to grab that tutorial end notice. End notice, copy UID, tutorial guide, private const string end notice UID. Okay, on tutorial completed, we're gonna do end notice is packed scene end notice UID, tutorial end notice, add child end notice. Okay, hopefully that works. So we're gonna need to go through everything again, but we'll see what happens. What is serialization in context of coding language? Just random question to ask. Yeah, serialization is basically just referring to taking the data that's in your memory, in your code essentially, and turning it into a more persistent data format that can be, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be persistent to the disk, but it's basically serialized into a different format, usually like JSON or some kind of string data or whatever. And then the idea behind serialization is you should be able to deserialize it, which means that you should be able to take that new data format and convert it back into the classes or the objects that you have in your code. So, you know, you have like a C# class with a bunch of properties. If you want to serialize it to JSON, then that means that you write all those property values to a string file in JSON format. And then if you deserialize it, then you read from the JSON file and back into that class object or that instance of that class. But again, it doesn't just have to be to strings or whatever. It's just that's the context you'll see it in probably the most. Skill floor for game dev is hard. The technical aspect alone requires intense study, subjectively speaking, but then making a good game is a whole nother beast, if I may say so. Yes, it is. That's definitely true. Serialize is game dev speak for saving and deserialize is loading. Yep, basically. Coder brain rot. Semaphores are not real. They cannot hurt you. In the tutorial, did you block putting one of your own cards inside the resurrection altar? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Is that the only way all the game saves data? Yeah, I mean, the fundamental problem is that if you want to save data, you have to take what's in memory. Memory is volatile, right? Which means that it will get freed eventually. So when your game closes, that memory is going to be freed. So serialization is usually about taking the memory that's stored and putting it into a more persistent format, like a string, which can then be persisted to the file system, or it could be persisted to a database or whatever, right? But yeah, the idea is that you want to take that volatile memory and get it out into a format that's more persistent, that can be stored long term. And then you have to be able to read that persistent data back into memory to reconstruct the game state that existed when you saved the game, right? So that's basically the only way to save the data. There's lots of different ways to do it. It depends on the needs of your game. Like some games will basically just do a memory dump where they just take all that memory and they dump it to a file and then just load it all back in. But some games will do like a more sophisticated serialization, deserialization process. Some games use databases, like if you're playing an online game, a live service game, there are databases that are powering all the storage there. So yeah, it depends. It depends on what you're doing. Got to get through this tutorial. Got to get down on Friday. All right, let's see if this works. I hope it does, because I don't want to do any more tutorial notice stuff. All right. So that screen rect is wrong. So this needs to be full rect here. What did I do wrong here? Tutorial notice, tutorial guide, pause menu. Does this screen rect not have the material on it already? No, it does. Oh, I changed the color to that. And then the mouse, do I have this at ignore here? Yeah. Okay. Let's just do a quick test tutorial guide. I'm just going to call on tutorial completed here and see if it works. It's for all file types, image, text, videos. So I don't think you'd ever want, like, you just want to save the game state. If you're saving images and videos and stuff during the serialization process, you would only need to do that. Well, I mean, you wouldn't even be serializing those media types anyway. But generally speaking, all of the assets are available in your game. So if you say the player has unlocked, you know, a greatsword weapon, you wouldn't save the greatsword image to your save file, because that's already in the game files. But what you might do is you might save an ID, like that a string ID that relates to the weapon, and say like, okay, the player's unlocked this, you know, greatsword ID, right? And so when you load the game and you load the save data, you say, okay, if the greatsword ID, this goes to this asset in the game file, so we'll load that in, right? So you're typically not going to be saving assets as part of, well, you're not going to be saving assets as part of serialization, generally speaking. If you have some kind of user-generated assets, like you can make your own texture or image or whatever, that would probably just be saved as an image on the file system and then referenced in some way. But that's a relatively rare situation. I've started making the map in my game. I'm really unsure I could procedurally generate it, but I think the game itself would be too short without some replayability. Interesting. What's your game about again? If you don't mind reminding me. Okay, that works. All right, let's just give it another thorough test here. All files are just binary with different hats, so you could put your save data into a PNG if you really wanted to. Yeah, that's true. What do you mean by game state? Game state is just a catch-all term for anything that's happening in the game. So, for instance, if I'm going into this map here, game state might be what's my notoriety level currently, and what nodes are visited versus unvisited, and like what node types are here. Basically anything that's required to recreate the experience that the player is trying to save. Like, I don't need to save the villager asset because that already exists, right? But what I do need to save is I do need to save the idea that that combat node has a villager card at this position, right? So game state is just a catch-all term that means anything that needs to be persisted that is required to recreate the same exact state or the same exact experience that the player was trying to save, right? Game state would also be what cards are in my inventory, what cards are on my board, what cells do I have unlocked, how much currency do I have, how much alchemical residue do I have, all that kind of stuff. In one of my games that passed for my platformer game, I was using PNGs as a way to save level data. Interesting. Hello, Kurt. Do you view your live stream primarily as a commitment device to develop the game or primarily as a community building tool? Yeah, it's all of the above. It's a marketing device. It's a way to actually get work done in the game. It's a way to chat with people, build an audience. It's a way to educate people if they have questions about certain things. It's sort of just like all-in-one package, baby. Card game with roguelike elements. Interesting. Yeah, an open world. I mean, yeah, it depends on what you want to accomplish with the open world, I guess, but players inventory their stats, yeah. It's also excellent background while I work on my game. Yeah, it's like a co-working space. Yeah, we got all of it. Yeah, I use these streams as an accountability buddy. Nice. Okay, I think that's working pretty good. So I'll start. So now, after I play the tutorial, I probably want to just mark that so it doesn't ask the player again. I'm not going to persist that to the disk, I don't think. But what I can do is do public static bool is tutorial played, I guess. Get set. And I'll go to my main menu here. And I'll say load main scene is tutorial enabled. So do load main scene on tutorial accepted, right? So on start clicked, we're going to do this. If not options utils dot is tutorial played, then we are going to load all this stuff up, and we're going to set on tutorial accepted. On tutorial accepted, we're going to do is tutorial played equals true here. Else load main scene false. So now if players want to play the playtest and they try the tutorial, they won't be prompted multiple times to do that. So if I do this, would I like to play the tutorial? Yes. I'm going to just quit to the menu because that flag should be set. And if I click start, that's just going to put me right back in the game. And then if I restart the game, that data is not persisted anywhere. So it's going to ask again. If I do start, yes, play the tutorial. Cool. So this is much, much, much better than the tutorial I had before, which is good. So, okay, I'm pretty sure this is going to work. There's no need to go through all those things again. Although I should make sure that the options, I think everything's still going to work, because the beauty about the tutorial is it's basically just a normal run of the game. All I've done is I've just hard-coded what the map looks like and what the encounters look like and everything. And because all of the tutorial logic is basically wrapped up in here, that means that if this does not exist in the tree, then we're not going to do any tutorial logic. So that's nice, but I do want to just check. I should probably just make sure that the pause menu works as expected. I mean, it should, because I didn't need to change anything. So if I do yes there, we can do options, change the SFX music volume, stuff like that. Full screen we can do on. Screen shake on, done. Options, boom, boom, boom. Options, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Quit to menu, that works, and I can quit here. Boom. Kerblam. Kerbamski. All right, we're good. All right, getting very close to the tutorial being finished. All right. Now, let's see. Remove. Oh, I need to do that. Okay, I'm going to change the cards that are available here. Let me take a look. All right, let's take a look at all the cards I have in the game. I don't think I want to include the embalming fluid. I wonder why this takes so long. You're welcome, Neozoid. You are welcome. It's Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. All right. I think I want to include some kind of poison ability. So instead of the jellyfish, maybe Amanita. So maybe we'll do Amanita instead. Oh, I don't need this. Why is this here? Oh, I don't have on no pressed either. Ah, son of a biscuit. I don't want to allow escaping on this. Actually, let me fix this real quick. I want to get rid of that escapable component. I just realized that. Tutorial end notice, tutorial end notice. Delete the escapable component. I don't want this to be escapable. Get rid of that. These signals. I didn't do a very good job cleaning this up, did I? Okay. Okay. So yeah, we want to do the Amanita muscaria. So if I go to my tutorial seeded run, so we have the card ID, Lambone Ring, Skeleton Mage. Let's do Amanita muscaria. So I got the Skeleton Mage, Lambone Ring. Do I want to offer the player an odd-shaped card? I don't want to offer the player any cards that they can't use, so maybe I'll offer them an axe as well. So we'll do axe, Skeleton Mage, Amanita. Okay, Ceremonial Dagger, Embalming Fluid, Wyvern Hatchling. Okay, so Embalming Fluid needs to go. Let's see, what else can I give the player here? Maybe a... Let's see. Let's do Giant Finger. Might change these around a little bit. Well... yeah, let's do, instead of Axe, or instead of Skeleton Mage here, let's do Wyvern Hatchling here. And then let's do a Skeleton Mage there. Yeah. So I'm basically, I want to give the player the impression that there's a bunch of different card sizes, right? So like the Axe is a 1x2, the Wyvern is a 2x1, and the Amanita is a 1x1. But also this is a poison ability. This scales off of minions. This is a minion here. And then on the second reward, we've got the Ceremonial Dagger, which will scale off of the poison. So if the player chooses the Amanita, I want them to be able to choose the ceremonial dagger and recognize that there's a synergy there. The giant finger is just if they want to have some preserve that gives them a different ability to choose as well. And then there's the skeleton mage, which they could pair with the axe, or they could pair with the wyvern hatchling for more fire. So I'm just trying to give the player like a very tightly controlled set of cards where they can start to find synergies in the tutorial, but without making it too complicated to start. That flail looks sick. Thank you. Yeah, I like the flail too. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm giving the player the giant finger, yeah. Would I like to play the tutorial? Yes. All right, so let's see how this works. I think these cards are going to be much better options. And the other thing about the cards that I chose is that I don't think it's going to be possible for the player to accrue negative alchemy abilities, which, yeah, I'm not going to introduce them to that just yet. So I got the axe. So like if I chose poison here, I could, you know, open this up and put this Amanita Muscaria there. And then I could do the alchemy and I could go, wait a minute, I want to do that. And then I can get an Amanita that does, well, that's going to have a negative ability, but that's all right. Apply 2 poison, so I can do 2 poison, 4 damage. And I can put this here. Then I can go and fight this one. Like that, and then I can say, okay, oh, that skills off a poison. I could grab this, or I could grab the skeleton mage. Although that's too many 2x2 cards. So maybe I'll replace the skeleton mage. Maybe I'll do lamb bone ring here. Yeah, maybe I'll just try that. I'm trying to give enough options, because the other thing too is I teach the player how to unlock cells on their board. And it would be kind of weird if they unlocked a cell but couldn't do anything with it because they chose too many of these types of cards, but I don't know if there's a really great way to prevent that from happening. So if I choose Amanita here, open up the alchemy, do this. Let's say that I decide to choose this one, close the inventory to continue, go this way. Do that. I get another card choice. I might say, oh, maybe I'll take the giant finger here. And then I want to do this and that. Alchemize those. So do that. Grab this guy, put that here. So yeah, that should be interesting enough. Turn cooldown reduced by 1, put that there. And then I should still be able to beat the boss, I think. All right. That's working pretty well, I suppose. Cool. Alrighty then. Change tutorial cards. Boom, boom. Excellent, excellent. So we have 2 more things left to do with the tutorial here. Prevent backtracking from triggering boss fight before appropriate. And Add explosion VFX for pop in, pop out. Hello, Evan. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. If that size of the giant's finger is that, I'm curious to see what a giant card would look like to scale. We could do something like that. We could definitely do something like that. All right. Let's do the burst, I guess. Flame burst. We'll just copy this. Flame burst here. Skull. Flame burst there. Process material, make unique recursive. Okay. Let's see if that works. So we'll just access his unique name. Is this what's being scaled? Oh yeah, that's under scale root. Maybe I'll just put this here then, so it doesn't get scaled. And then when we pop in, we will do flame burst.restart emission. Flame burst.restart. Okay, let's see if that works. Giant without a finger card, yeah. 420 by 69. In the game Songs of Conquest, you have a Legion unit, which is raised army of skeletons mashed into one giant. Oh my gosh, that's metal. That's so metal. Maybe we don't want to do the flame burst out. Yeah, so I think flame burst out is not necessary, but we can definitely do it when he pops in, so it looks a little bit more natural, I guess. Okay, I think that looks better. Gotta fix this bug. I actually don't know why that bug happens. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll have to fix that. I don't know. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a detour here while I'm thinking about it. and contains mouse. Get global rect. Oh, I see. That's probably the issue. So that tooltip getting stuck is this thing here, which is detecting that it has the point, but also this does not account for if there's any control nodes sitting in front of the thing. Yeah, that doesn't account for if any control nodes are sitting in front of the thing and can intercept. I wonder if there's a way to detect that. Oh well, I don't know how to fix that right now, but at least I know what the problem is. Maybe I'll do a to-do. To-do, this does not account for cases where there is a control node in front which will intercept mouse input. Oh my gosh, mouse input. There we go. Anyway, add cool. As in detect if there's a top control over the one you want to select. Yeah, so what happens is those map nodes are clickable controls, and what the clickable control does by default is that it detects when it becomes re-enabled, it will do a check to see if the mouse is inside of the control area. And the reason it does that is because, you know, I don't want players to have to move the mouse again to update the state. I just want the state to be updated if the mouse is inside of it. The problem, though, is that it's only doing a check to see if the mouse is within the boundaries of the rectangle. It's not doing a check. It's not doing a check to see if that mouse should be intercepted by another control. So I wonder if there's a way to do that. Let me see. Accept event, find the next valid focus, get mouse filter with override. Grab focus, has focus. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to check like if the mouse is currently in the area in a way that won't be intercepted by another control. That's going to be a tricky one. What I could do is I could just send a mouse event programmatically through the tree. And maybe that would work. Yeah, I'd have to check that. You would need to be aware of the other control elements for a naive approach. Right. That's why I'm thinking like maybe just sending a mouse event, like a input event mouse motion through the tree with the mouse just at its current position and let all of the input handling happen normally. Instead of just doing a naive check to see if the mouse is in the area, I can actually just send an event and have that propagate through the tree, and then it should be handled properly. The thing is, I don't know if that's going to fire the mouse entered and mouse exited events as well. I'm going to have to do some research on that. I'm sure this is a problem. And the other thing is I probably don't want to emit an event for every clickable control. So I'll probably want to just have like a single place where a single event is emitted so that it can be handled by everything. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'll have to check that out, I suppose. Looks like viewport C++ class has a GUI find control method, but it's private to that C++. Interesting. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Well, I know how to fix the bug, or I know what the problem with the bug is. Map tooltip gets stuck if clickable control is re-enabled with mouse inside area, but there is another control intercepting input. So I know what the bug is. I know that tooltip is getting stuck. So now it's just a matter of figuring out how to fix that. Because I think the problem, that was a bug that was bothering me for a while, and I didn't know why it was happening, but now I know why it's happening. So there we go. All right, so that's done. So the last thing we need to do is this backtracking here. I might just do something easy for this. Let's see. What I could do is I could wanted levels. Oh, it get visited. Let's just do this. Visited wanted level override. We'll do this as a nullable int. And we'll do visited wanted level override. Otherwise default visited wanted level. And then what I can do is I can do in here tutorial seeded run if node.node event type is equal to event type.combat. I will do node set visited. Oh, I gotta, let's see. Public void set wanted level override. Set visited wanted level override. There. We'll do 0. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm setting the first two nodes as having no wanted level penalty, but the other nodes will have a wanted level penalty. Oh wait, that didn't work. I think I need to also add another condition here, or node.eventType equals eventType.start. Yeah, so this is 0 now. So basically, I'm taking these two combat nodes and I'm setting them to 0. So that way the player can't like sequence break it by just going back and forth. So now if I go here, and I go here, and I go here, and I go here, that's not going to do it. That one just needs to be 0, but... Oh, wait. No, I want that one to remain. Okay, alright. I'm just going to do this a little bit differently then. Run map node... Run map... Dot run map... Dot map... Dot nodes... 0.set wanted level override, set visited wanted level override. Run map nodes 1, set visited, wanted level override 0. So that's kind of like the best of both worlds. The player can't get into the boss fight before it's appropriate, but I'm also still retaining some visited nodes having a notoriety penalty. So if I go here, so now if I go back here and I go, oops, that's not right. So I can sequence break it there. All right. Why is this going to state unlock cells? On travel entered. Oh. Shoot, I gotta fix that too. But anyway, let me just check that I changed those wanted levels properly. Knowing how to fix the bug but not being able to is the equivalent of trying to find a piece of corn in tooth. Hello, Rookie Tookie. Welcome back. Okay, so we go here. I do all this again. I'm sick of running through this tutorial, but that's all right. And do the alchemy now. Kerblam, kerblam, boom, bam. Get in the pot. Okay, close the inventory to continue. I go this way. Okay, and then I go boom, bam. And that's going to want me to unlock a cell. So I do this. I grab this one. Kerblam. I unlock this cell. I put that here. I close this. So yeah. It's probably going to break here too, but these two are 0. I suppose I could still sequence break it by doing this and this. But that's okay. That actually is fine because I educate the player about the notoriety system. So they could just do this over and over again. And that's fine. I still educated the player about the notoriety. That was the main problem, is that they could trigger the boss fight before they knew about the notoriety. So that's fine. I do need to fix that sequence break, though, of backtracking to start when in Combat 2 state. But yeah, I'll fix that later. Okay. All right. So that should work. Anyway, that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for being here. Very much appreciate it. Always great to hang out and chat with you all. Again, if you are interested, you can wishlist Alchemortis. Let me pull up the Steam page here. If you're interested in what you see, definitely check that out. I would appreciate it. And yeah, thank you all for your support. Check out the links in the description below for all the ways you can support the game if you're interested. We are working towards another playtest. So again, if you're subscribed as a Patreon member, you will get 1 week of early access to the playtest. And then afterwards, the playtest will be open for anyone who wants to try it. So this is going to be the best playtest yet, for sure. I think the game is getting very close to being compelling enough and interesting enough, with enough interesting strategic decisions and build variety. But we're going to keep working on it. We got a lot more work to do for sure, but it's getting there. Anyway, thanks again, everybody. I hope you all have a great weekend. I may do an afternoon stream today, but I will definitely be doing a stream tomorrow morning. So, yeah, just keep an eye out on the Discord for those live notifications. Okay, take care, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.